Greetings, Internet, and welcome to Aaron Plays, and I hope you're doing fantastically well. In this episode, I'll be starting Into the Woods. Previous episode was the introduction and talked through what's going on or what's going to happen, but now we're going to start the actual first turn. Got to go through all the special rules that are required for that. The first couple of turns, we're going to go through how the system allocates activation markers and what those actually mean. And hopefully we'll start, the first one, maybe two activations. As I say, I want to keep these videos down to around about 20, maximum 25 minutes. So let's see how we go. If you enjoy what I do, if you could like the video, that'd be much appreciated. If you really like what I do, please subscribe to the channel. It does me a massive favor, gets me out there and such forth. And any comments, as much as possible, because I love to read them and I like to answer them. So let's go to the map. So this is the map at its maximum zoom on the battle module, and this is it with no counters on. It's pretty, but let's go through some of this actual terrain. It's a little bit rugged in certain places. So we have a terrain key here. So you've got the river, streams, runs, creeks, bridges, roads, sloping hecksides, HQs, camps, orchards. All of these obviously have a terrain effect. And then there's slopes and gradual. So the lighter green, and then it goes into brown as it goes higher, and then darker brown as we go higher still. So it's very busy. Very, very busy. There's the main river, the Pittsburgh landings itself. So the Union are set up towards where all these little encampments are, and let's actually bring on the units. And there they are. The Union Army. Notice a lot of the units have got this little, or leaders have got this little reserve marker on them. That means they're resting up. And they're going to keep that reserve until activated, and we'll go through how they're activated as the game progresses. There are reinforcements shown on the time record track. So again, if I clear that, there are also special rules here and here, which there's also charts and tables for as well. That's one of the things I do like about the module, that there are no charts and tables over here. You must have the game, or your opponent must have the game. If you're going to be playing it with two-player, well done, congratulations, I'm real happy for you. But there's no charts and tables here as such. There's all the things that you need: dice, markers, order of battles, which looks something like this, where you put your activation markers for each of the, in this case, corps with their respective divisions. Okay, is that right? No, that's just corps for the Confederates. I think it's the Union that have divisions, isn't it? So let's have a look at the Union order of battle. Bring that up. There we go. Yeah, they're in divisions. So first division, second division, and so on. They don't have a corps breakdown. So that's their activation units and efficiency, which we'll all go into what all that jargon means when we start up. Okay. Anything else really to cover on the map? So as we're moving through, I'll be discussing hope lines of sight, and if I'm making mistakes, please let me know, because it is rather complicated and different from any other of the game system as is. So it's 6 a.m. that's shown on here. April 6th. There is a scenario that has the battle starting the day earlier. And there's obviously a 7th of April, which is the second day, which is the Union counterattack. We'll see if we actually get that far. It depends how many people of you guys are still actually watching at that point, and if I actually get to that point. So let's bring up the sequence of play. As it says there, this is a bridge. There are a few other little things in between, but we'll go through this sequence each turn. Now, the initiative segment, to determine initiative, we don't do that on the first couple of turns. There's actually a chart which goes through all the special sequences for the first couple of turns. It's on the turn track, which, do I have one of those? No, we don't even have a turn track other than what's on the side of the board. But on here, it says notes for historical April the 6th attack, scenario 1. So it says all Confederate units are in command. Continuous flight requirement. Don't quite know what that means yet. We'll have a look at it. Automatic 3 activations for the Confederates. No fatigue for 3 activations for the Confederates. And then it goes on about automatic Confederate initiative. So determining the initiative segment is already been determined for us. The Confederates have it. Then we go into the orders segment. Determine chain of command. Well, as it just said on there, all Confederate units are in command for the 6 a.m. turn. And that initiative, the Confederates have it for the 6 a.m. and the 7 a.m. turn. So we don't have to worry about chain of command for the Confederates. For the Union, that could be a different story. So let me have a pause and have a look what actually happens with them. So chain of command. As I said just a moment ago, the Confederates are in command for the whole of the 6 a.m. turn. The Union units, being in reserve, only have to worry about command status if they become activated. And then they're also not having to worry about it for the first turn that they are activated. If I'm reading this corrected, because I've got an alert schedule on here. So on the 6 a.m. turn, we have some detachments that are alert, and also the 1st Brigade of the 6th Division, which is alert, but we're not sure how many activations it gets. It has to make an die roll on the alert schedule. And it says brigades are not affected by being out of command range from the divisional commander for the 6 a.m. and the 7 a.m. turn for the Union. Individual units are affected by being out of command from their immediate leader, so that would be their brigade leader. They get 1 less activation. So I think the minimum is still 1. So we'll have to see how many that will be. But that first stage, we're still doing the order segment, determine chain of command. We don't need to worry about this turn for either side. Then the activation efficiency determination, again, that's something we don't need to worry about until, well, for the Union, until about once the division is activated and alert, then we would draw on the following turn that happened, we would draw an efficiency chit, and that will determine how many activations that division will get. Just as a quick note that you can have anywhere from 1 to 4 activations in a turn. The more activations you have for a division, the more likely it will take fatigue and so on. You can normally get 2 in fatigue free, but if you have 3 and 4, then you start taking fatigue. And the more efficient your command is, the more likely you get an activation. You don't actually have to activate when an activation chit is drawn for you or for that particular division. And then sometimes you might not do so because you want to ensure you don't accrue fatigue. And again, we'll go in more detail when that happens. So the activation efficiency determination, i.e. part B on this chart, we don't really need to worry about. The Confederates don't need to worry about because they automatically are getting 3 activations per division, per corps. Division orders. Okay. This can be effectively, again, missed on the first turn because Confederates can't do any divisional order changes and neither can the Union. Reinforcement orders? That's now a good question because there are reinforcements arriving on the 6 a.m. turn for the Confederates. Yes, Hulk is arriving. So they've got to come under advance orders. So because no march orders are allowed until 10 a.m. So don't need to change that either. And the reserve placement, the units are already in reserve. They've got those reserve markers on them. So the order segment, not much happened. And then we go to the activation segment. So initiative activation choice. What does this mean? Bringing that down. Remembering that the Confederates have got the initiative. Where are the Confederates? They're all over here. Each of these corps will have an activation chit for it. In fact, each of the divisions has an activation chip for it. And you can choose one of those to keep out of the pool to be the first division activated in that turn. And then you just randomly draw from the pool for every other activation above and beyond. So we'll work out which one we're going to do with that initiative activation choice once we start filling in the pool, and I'll show you how we'll do that. In a face-to-face game or against an opponent, this part would be hidden and unknown. So you have an activation pool, which would be a cup or something if you're sitting on a table, and this we're using this display here. And we have activation markers for each of the sides and each division in the game. You've got the first division, second division, and so on. Each division can have up to 4 activations depending on the efficiency, but we know that on this first turn, the Confederates, the efficiency is 3, so they get 3 activations each. So I'm going to be putting in the pool for Clark, for example. So if we sit these here, there'll be 3 of these ready to go in the pool. Okay, for Cheatham and Ruggles and so on. What I need to first determine is how many of these are actually coming on or starting on board. That took a little time to figure out. So each of the divisions in the front lines, so we've got Hindman, we have Withers, Ruggles, we'll have Brewer, and who else we got? And Clark. Well, Clark isn't on the board. So there's only 3 actual divisions on the board to start with. Each of those has 3 activations. Clark, which is coming on as a reinforcement and coming in down here, only gets 1 activation as denoted in the actual rules there. All of those go now into the activation pool. And the unassigned, there's 3 of those as well. Now, can we flip those? Reverse. What does that mean? No. Okay, so if I draw one out, as you can see, they're coming out in sort of random order on there. Let's plonk them all back in. Now, the Union are going to get considerably less than that. Okay, so the Union effectively only got 3 potential chits to go into the hat. And that's a good point. I should have actually kept one out so I can draw specific cards. Who do we want? So close that again, cancel that, move that off. We want initial activation from one of these. So we'll have Hindman go first. So bringing that back up, I'm going to pull out a Hindman chip, and that's going to be the, as was mentioned on here, that will be the initiative activation choice. And then from then on, it's randomly drawn. So I'll just draw a specific card. We'll have a Hinderman. Okay. And that'll be the one that will be starting the actual first turn. So the three Union ones, Prentice, of his units, let's show where Mr. Prentice is. He's back here. He's the divisional commander. There's only one brigade of his that's activated, and that's Peabody, which has actually put out these three detachments. So when Prentice is drawn, only those three detachments and Peabody's brigade are activated and actually can do things. But there's, on the 6 a.m. turn, the detachments always get 2 activations maximum and are always in command. And then Peabody, we don't know. It says roll for the 1st Brigade 6th Division, which is Peabody. And on a die roll of 0, remember this uses a D10 system, on a die roll 0, it will get 3 activations. On a die roll of 1 to 2, it'll get 2 activations. And on 3 to 9, it'll only get 1. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 7 potentials of only 1 activation, 2 potentials of 2 activations, and only 1 of 3. And it says keep this secret from the Confederate player. Well, there's no way I can keep it secret because I know who I am. So, but I want to keep suspense for myself. So I'm going to put all 3 in there. Okay. It changes the pot. I don't understand unless I can I do anything? I can flip them. There we go. Maybe I should draw all these out and do that. Oh, and it comes out one at a time. Let me set that up properly. Okay, so they're all now in the pool with the correct side. So this side will now be flipped over to show that we know it's Hinman's. So what I'm going to do for the 1st Brigade of the 6th Division, Peabody, is when the first chit comes out, which is blue, the first blue chit comes out, that's an automatic yes, because they automatically get at least 1 activation. But when the second one comes out, I will make a die roll to see if that actual does occur. On the ratio, to get at least a second one, it's got to be a 1, 2, or a 0 for it to actually be in place. So the Union player, I suppose, wouldn't know. In the actual physical game, they would know, but I'm keeping myself into suspense. So we'll assume the Union would think or treat itself as having 3 activations. And if the dice comes up 0, 1, and 2, then they do get a second activation. And when the third chit comes out, they would have to roll a 0 for it to be actually activated. If the second activation doesn't occur when the third chit comes out, or I can draw it out specifically, couldn't I, like I just did by clicking right click and draw specific cards. So yeah, so that's fine. We're okay there. So that's how I'm going to do the activations for the US. So going up, we've now go on the sequence of play. We've done initiative activation choice, which is Hinman, AM pool replacement, sorry, AM pool placement, and then activation AM draw. Well, we don't have to do that for that 1st division because it's already there. So I can close that down, and I can close that down. So we're actually activating Hinman's division, and he's here. What actually happens now? Okay, and I now need to explain the continuous line rule, which is in effect for the first two activations that Hindman, i.e. this guy, has. So he's the first divisional commander we pulled, well, we have the chit out of. He is in charge of Claibornes, Woods, Shavers, and for just the 6 a.m. turn, also Gladden's brigade. Okay. At the end of this whole division activating, each unit must be adjacent to one other unit of the... So there must be a continuous line. Each brigade must be adjacent to its neighbour. Each regiment of a brigade must be adjacent to another regiment of that brigade, so there are no gaps between any regiments. So they're moving as a solid line. When it comes to going, let's go back on the sequence of play here. So we're doing the activation, change orders phase. I couldn't change them in the divisional, but I can change them now, but I don't want to. Then it's the brigade coordination phase. I could try and get all these guys moving at the same time. Again, I don't want to. I want to move each brigade at a time. So activating each brigade at a time under the orders of Hyman. So I can move these in any, activate them in any order I want to. If I'd gone for that brigade coordination, multiples could have activated at the same time, depending on the die roll and the command rating of the general and such forth. That allows you get a larger group of units moving at the same time, which limits opponents' fire, but we won't go into the details of that at present. So I'm going to start, because it's only this turn that he's actually with Hindman. So I'm going to start with Gladden's brigade. Well, this is an impromptu cut because I actually recorded a full about 45 minutes, and then ended at end of brigade activation. And I thought, downloaded it and started going through it. I thought, oh, that's only 45 minutes long. I don't want that kind of length. So I'm going to cut the video, and this is an extra add-on at the end of going to be episode 2, and then episode 3 will be the second half of my recording I've just done. Okay, so I've taken it up to the beginning of the first activation, actual movement of units on the board, and that will be episode 3. This one's been all the command and rigmarole and look at the map and all that kind of thing, getting to that point. Okay. Until next time, play games, have fun, buy internet.